Appreciate everybody accommodating our schedule this week, with it being a little bit different, with us being out of school and kind of moving the times around. Hope it didn't interfere with your lunch hour or the famous lunch that we have back there for everybody. I hope it didn't interfere with that. What's that? Thursday. You got to wait, not until Thursday. Looking back, proud of the way this team competed. When you look back at UTEP last week, playing on the road, we've talked about it before, it's never easy to play on the road. It's never easy to play in a conference game, and you look the last couple of weeks all over the country at some of the upsets that have happened and some of the teams that have been the overdog, as my daughter always puts it, some teams that have been the overdogs that have maybe gone down late in the season. And I think when you get late in the season, a lot of people have a lot of things on film. And some teams, it's probably a little bit easier to prepare for each other. And I think some teams are really going to play with an extra edge. And I certainly thought that UTEP did that this weekend. But I was really proud of the way that our players competed, the way they hung in there. We told them they needed to be patient. It was going to be a 60-minute game. I think that I look at our special teams, and I thought they were solid. Maybe some things we could have done better on a couple kickoff coverages, but I thought the way Shao stepped up in the fourth quarter and the two punts that he had that flipped the field were huge field position changes in the fourth quarter, which is why in a 10-10 ball game we made the decision to go into the wind in the third so we would have it in the fourth. The wind was definitely a factor in this game. It was a 30-mile-an-hour wind, and it made a huge difference in the field position, in the kicking game, and even really affected throwing the ball a little bit, especially on some of the deep balls. I thought our defense played an excellent football game. They gave up 0 big play touchdowns and made them kick field goals 3 out of 4 times down in the red zone. And ultimately, those two statistics were keeping them off the scoreboard, which gave us an opportunity to only give up 13 points as a defense. I thought they did a really nice job down there. And offensively, I thought there were definitely some bright spots. We had drives at 82, 80, and 73 yards. We started the game with a long drive for 3 points, a long drive, a 2-minute drive right before the end of the half to make it 10-10, and then open the third quarter with a long drive. I think we definitely could have played better. It was not our best game on either side of the ball. I definitely think that we can play better, and I think that falls on everybody. We've got to do a better job as coaches. I feel like there's some things that we definitely could have done to help our players or put them in a better opportunity and give them a better chance to play. But I think ultimately, the missed field goal was huge. Finally, our opponents were 13 of 13 against us on the year. Nobody had missed a field goal, so I'm glad finally the law of averages plays in our favor. I mean, at one point you go, really? I mean, can somebody miss a field goal against us? I don't know how many teams in the country have gone the entire season without a field goal being missed against them, but we were on our way. So I was certainly glad to see him push it. It was very difficult conditions, but I'll also say this. I felt like offensively, those guys on the sideline were fully prepared to go down and score again if that's what they needed to do in a 2-minute drive, like they felt like they needed to right before the half. I certainly felt like they had that mindset. But winning on the road, never take winning for granted. Some things we could have done better, but I certainly think that it creates some challenges for us this week to get into this game number 12, having the opportunity to play at home against a very good Southern Miss team. I think Coach Munkin has done a great job with that program. When you look over the last 3 years where he's been, and his blueprint and his fingerprints are getting to be all over that program right now. I look at, he's at a young quarterback that's been in the system now for 3 years, playing really well. They're doing some really good things as an offense right now. When you look at them statistically, they're number 1 in our conference in pass yards, rush yards, total yards with what they're doing. They're number 8 in the country right now, and I believe they're number 1 in the country right now in explosive plays of 20 yards or more. I think they're really doing a good job right now offensively, and they're putting up a lot of points. They're putting up video game type numbers when you look at them and the number of points and yards that they're putting up in a lot of these games here the last couple weeks. And they're getting better as the year's gone on. It's been impressive to watch them grow. I think their 2 running backs are playing really well for them. Their quarterback's playing well. Their offensive line has given them time. They're a really solid football team on offense, and they don't have a lot of weaknesses right now. Defensively, They have 7 starters back from a year ago that played against us. They took 2 transfers and a junior college player to kind of bolster that they added to that group of 7 returning starters, and I think it's truly showing. Again, they're number 1 in defense. They're in the top 2 or 3 in pretty much every defensive statistical category. I believe they're number 28 in the country in total defense right now, and I think right now you look at it statistically, it's far and away the best defense we've played the entire season. It's got all the billings to be a great matchup. I think for Conference USA, I don't know that there could be a better script right now than the 2 teams tied, or the top 2 teams in the East and the top 2 teams in the West having the opportunity to play in what we're looking at as a semifinal matchup. Because the loser's done and the winner goes on to play again. So this is kind of like winner stays on with what we're in right now. We're in a 4-team, single game elimination right now for the conference championship, which is exciting. There were 13 teams in this league that started at the very beginning of the season with these dreams and hopes, and it's down to 4. And so there's certainly a lot of excitement and energy and enthusiasm with our players right now. We talked about a lot of the challenges that we had last week, with it being the last week of academics, all the final exams, papers due, which made that a very dangerous game last week. But this week it certainly has an opportunity to play a little bit more in your favor, where your players have an opportunity to get all that behind them, and we get a chance to focus really on football. And we need to get some rest this week and get our feet up underneath us a little bit. So excited about the opportunity we have, excited to have the opportunity to play it at home. I know it's very difficult on a Thanksgiving weekend to play at 11 o'clock, but I certainly would love to see everybody come out for Senior Day, for the guys that have been here, that have put in the hard work and everything for the last couple years, and being able to take this team to a bowl game, only 2 bowl games in a row, only the second time in school history. I'd certainly love to see people come out and support this team as we compete for a conference championship against a very good opponent, but also to say goodbye to a really good group of seniors that have meant an awful lot to Louisiana Tech and what they've helped us build here in this program. So excited about the weekend. Mm-hmm. I did. I felt like we were ready. I thought we played on edge. I really thought, I look at it offensively. I look at it defensively. I thought we played physical. I thought we played hard. We had a couple missed tackles early, and as we talked about their scheme with the way they run the ball, playing 7 offensive linemen, it's not just about your front 7. They're going to make your corners make tackles, your safeties make tackles. They're going to make everybody be the edge of the defense at some point. And we missed some tackles early, but I thought we responded to that really well in the second half. Offensively, I felt like, hard to say you weren't ready to play when you take the opening drive and go the length of the field and put it in the end zone. I thought it was probably one of our most impressive drives of the day. But I thought after that, I don't think we played with the same intensity that we needed to up front. I talked about after the game that I certainly felt like UTEP controlled the line of scrimmage on the defensive side of the ball. Their defensive line controlled the line of scrimmage. And going back and watching our film, a little bit of confusion with some things up front and making some identification calls and turning some guys free that we've got to get cleaned up, that we talked about in here, that makes everybody look bad, because we've talked about that in here even. If, you can have 10 guys pick their guy up and take him down the field and put him on his back, but if one guy, you don't block the nose guard and you run an inside zone play, you're in for a lost yardage play. And those are the type of things that we've got to do a better job and clean up. We can't have those type of mistakes this week.
Last week, you said you rarely play a close game, lo and behold, you go and play a 2-point game.
Yep.
You got the victory, though. What does that say about the program? Not play your best and still get a win.
Yeah, and we had the same thing with UTSA on the road. We had the same thing, last second field goal we had to make in order to win that one, and then come back and play this game on the road. I said this at the beginning of the week. I felt like UTEP is a really good football team. They're dealing with a lot of injuries right now, but they're a very proud program. They take on the personality of their coach and Coach Kugler, and they're going to compete and be tough, hard-nosed, and with what they do schematically, they give you a lot of problems, and they were going to load the box. I talked to the team about being patient. I probably was a little too conservative at times in that game. And that's why I say I certainly don't just point a finger at them. We all got to look at what we could have done better. And I probably got a little too conservative in that game at times. But I look at it and I said, we got to be patient. We got to be prepared to go all the way to the end and win a close football game. Last year we didn't do that. Last year we lost 3 games by 3 points, where we got in a close football game. But when you look at the games we won, all of them were like 10-point or more victories. And so I think this year to win 2 games at the end, I think speaks volumes about the leadership, the character of this football team, the desire of this football team, that they're not going to go away easy. And I think that's what you're going to see this weekend is 2 teams on both sides of the East and the West Division. You're going to see 2 really good football games with 2 teams that are really going to be competing. But this is what it's all about. This is what you want. Everybody's good at this point.
Where specifically do you think you got too conservative?
Just overall in play calling.
What about in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter? Some of those.
No, I wouldn't change what I did in the fourth quarter late in the game when you got to run the ball to run the clock. And if I would have stopped the clock or thrown an incomplete pass, then instead of them throwing a Hail Mary from the 45, they got another 40 seconds to move the ball down. I don't question the way we manage the game clock. They put everybody up there. You're going to run it. I'm comfortable saying if we can't run it, we're going to take 2.5 minutes off the clock and punt it away, and you don't have any timeouts left, and you're going to have to drive the field to beat us with no timeouts. I would not trade the last couple drives of the game, but there are some things that I felt like I probably could have done to help our offensive line a little bit more. That's why I said I think we all got to look at what we could have done better. And like I said, I don't sit here and just point a finger. I look at myself first and the things that we could have done as a head coach and as a play caller that could have put them in a better chance. But I think at the end of the game, you're trying to make a first down, but more than make a first down, you're trying to eat the clock. And the worst thing you could do is throw 2 incomplete passes and let them save their timeouts and have the ball with time remaining on the clock. Mm-hmm.
You see on tape from that play, he obviously rushed the passer, but did you think it was a targeting?
Honestly, if he doesn't hit him in the head, I don't think it's even roughing. I mean, he's right there. I mean, he takes one step and hits the quarterback, so I don't think it was a late hit. You know what I mean? I didn't think it was a late hit. I think if had he been a little bit lower, you know what I mean, and hit him a little bit more in the sternum, but if any part you make contact with that head, you're going to get a penalty. I mean, this has been an emphasis the last couple of years to protect the defenseless player, whether that's a receiver over the ball, whether that's a safety on a crackback block, whether that's a quarterback with his eyes downfield and he doesn't see a defensive lineman. I mean, we've got to protect those guys. And with what we know about concussions, I certainly understand the rules and regulations, and that's why you got to stay away from it. So, do I think it was a vicious, you know what I mean, attack? No. I don't think he speared. I don't think he led with the crown of his helmet. I don't think he did any of that. But he did hit a defenseless player, and his face mask did make contact with his face mask. And under the rules, that's a penalty. Mm-hmm. Well, and you look at a lot of it too. I don't know, you go back and look at what we've done at halftime. I mean, we have, this has not been a year where we have tried to, stockpile stats. And, we played our starters early in the year in the opening game for a quarter, and then took them out of the game. And then in the second half, I have put handcuffs on this offense quite a bit. When you go in at halftime and you got a 24-point lead, it's like run the ball and run the clock and let's get out of here. It's not about how high up can we move in the statistical game. I haven't played that game with this team. We took a knee against FIU out here on the 4-yard line to end the game. Because it wasn't about just trying to score points. And so I think sometimes statistics can be a little bit misleading, but we always talk about as a football team, we've got to be prepared going into a game that we may have to win 42-41 and we may have to win 17-15. And we got to be prepared to do both, whether that's as an offense or as a defense, because at the end of the day, it's not about scoring 40 points and it's not about holding them to 10. It's about finding a way to manage the game and win the football game. And I think that's one of the things that this team has done a really good job of. I think you're going to see two offenses that have put up a lot of points that are going to go against one of the best defenses they've played all year on both sides of the ball. And I think it's going to be a great matchup, and that's what's going to make it such a great game.
Talk about the changes at halftime. Saturday was another game where y'all made some adjustments at halftime defensively. What was the biggest changes y'all made for UTEP?
One of them was just to challenge them to tackle and play base football. I mean, we got out of our gap in a couple blitzes. We got out of our gaps with all of a sudden, instead of having the 6 gaps with 5 offensive linemen, I mean, all of a sudden you're looking at 7 offensive linemen and you're looking at 8 gaps. And so when you're blitzing, you got to fit them up completely different. And then they're running a stretch. We got out of a gap, once or twice here or there, and it cost us. And we gave up big plays, and we came out in the second half and we just said, you know what, we're just going to play a little bit more base defense, and let's make sure we put our players in a chance to give them a chance to win. Let's let them win it on the game. Let's play conservative on offense, conservative on defense, and give our players the opportunity to go out there and make some plays. And they did what they had to do in order to win. But really, we simplified it at halftime defensively more than anything. Right. Yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, that was one of the challenges last week is we had, we're at practice and we've got, I don't know, maybe 5 to 8 guys a day that are missing practice because they're trying to get ready for a final exam, turn in a final paper. I mean, the guys they were in, they were out. I mean, it's like, let's go to our nickel. Well, we can't. He's in class. All right, we'll work that tomorrow. Let's go. I mean, there were a lot of distractions last week, and we talked about some of the challenges we had with this football team with the distractions we had last week and trying to get the quarter finished up. But those distractions last week give you the opportunity to take your breath a little bit this week. I mean, where we don't have a lot of things off the field right now. We don't have class this week, and from a player's standpoint, hopefully we can get a little bit more rest. We can get a little bit away from it a little bit more, and we can spend a little bit more time in getting ready to play a football game. And so right now, I think the way the schedule worked out, as hard as it was last week, I think it has a chance to play to our benefit this week. Right. Well, I think they bit the bullet with playing a lot of young players the last 2 years. Talked about 7 guys returning. They haven't been playing with a lot of upperclassmen. I think they've been playing with a lot of young players that have been in their system that are continuing to develop. And I think they're good football coaches, and they have a really good scheme. And then what they did, very similar to the way we supplemented the quarterback position with a couple transfers, they supplemented the defensive side with 2 transfers and a junior college player. Rather than asking 4 freshmen to step in and play for them, they're asking 3 upperclassmen to join a group of 7 starters and the guys that have played a lot of football. I think when I look at their running backs, their quarterbacks, their offensive linemen, we've been looking at the same names for 3 years now. So they, when you look at college football programs around the country, a lot of them, you don't wiggle your nose and build a program. In some cases, it takes time, and it may take 3 or 4 years, and having to play a bunch of young players and get them experience as they come along, because we've talked even in here quite a bit, young players make mistakes, and mistakes cost you football games sometimes. And I said it after our game last year. I think they're one of the more talented teams, and when the schedule came out, Kurt Hester and I talked about it in the spring. That this season probably will go down to the very last game of the season with us in Southern Miss, and here we are. It's not a surprise. They've been very talented. I just think they've plugged a couple of those holes and really done a nice job as a staff building the program. I think if it ever becomes an issue, but right now I don't see anything like that being an issue. I think everybody's kind of got their nose to the grindstone, and I know we're probably in a position where more jobs are open during the course of the football season than ever in the history of college football. It used to be a thing where everybody waited till after the season, and then it was a madhouse. I mean, then everybody was scurrying, and it seems like those decisions are being made earlier and earlier to give maybe administrators a little bit more time to make sure that they get the right fit for what they're trying to do. But right now, I don't think, I mean, you hear rumors flying around about names, but at this point, nobody's talking with anybody at this point. Everybody's coaching their football team, but I think it's going to be one of those things. Even though the decision is made earlier, the jobs are not being filled earlier. I mean, people aren't talking to each other right now. People are coaching their football teams.
In your first year, you went 4-8. Did you ever talk with Todd at any point about like staying the course? Because you obviously had a turnaround
Yep.
last year from 4-8. It took him his third year, I believe. Right?
Mm-hmm.
What type of conversations did you have, if any, with him?
We've talked just, I mean, with when we've been at the conference meetings and things like that. Obviously, I've known Todd for a long time and great respect for him and followed his career and the way that he's grown and developed in the places he's been. And we've talked a number of times just about, just be patient, stay the course. That's all you can do. I mean, be patient, stay the course, believe in what you're doing. Demand players are trying to do the things that you want to have done, and then stay the course and just keep at it. That's all you can do. There's not wiffle dust or a magic wand or some spell you can put on everybody to make it happen like that. You build a program through a lot of hard work and diligence, but I think consistency and stability is one of the keys to success, and that's certainly one of the things that I think Todd has done a really nice job of over there. Yeah, well, it's not only going to be a special weekend because of the number of seniors that are going to go through senior day, but on Friday we're going to have a graduation ceremony for 8 players that are graduating, that just graduated this fall. To have 8 players just finish up their degree, I think is awesome. And we were at UTEP last Saturday when the graduation ceremony was. And so Dr. Geis, Dr. McConaughey, and a lot of the administrators were very adamant that they want to make sure that they hand these players their degree. And so I can't be more grateful or more thankful or say thank you more to the people involved to make such a big deal out of graduation, because what this means to these players' families. There's a couple players that are in this group that are the first person in their family to graduate from college, and I think it's going to be a really special ceremony where, you talk to your players and you say, okay, how many people do you have coming? It's like, oh, Coach, I got a bus. I got a bus coming in. I've got 12. I got 15. I've got. It's a special day, and I'm just very grateful to the leadership here for noticing that, and that these young men missed out on that special day on Saturday because they were representing this program, and to want to do something special for them when all their parents are in here, even though it's Friday, a Thanksgiving, and they're giving up their time because that's when all the parents are going to be here for senior day. And so I think it's really, doesn't happen like this everywhere, and I just really applaud Dr. Geis and Dr. McConaughey and the leadership here for what they're doing for these players. It's going to be a pretty special day. I'm looking forward to being there.
On the flip side, we talked about academics last week. Any concern that you'll be without any players for December rolls around?
Grades are due in tomorrow. I believe tomorrow I believe is when all the grades are due in. At this point, no, not right now. I think Thomas Graham has done a great job as he has stepped over into the academic world for us. And just after being a student athlete here and understanding what it takes, and just the study hall program, the way that the study hall and the academic center has been beefed up, and with everything that Amber and everybody is doing over there, I think it's been great. But right now, I'm not concerned right now. Where a year ago, where this is about the time that we were being told, hey, by the way, you got a number of guys that didn't pass 6 credits. I think we're also getting a little more acclimated. We've gone through a transition here where we were, because 8 credits is full-time at a quarter school that we're in, 8 credits is full-time. The rule was, with the NCAA, was that we needed to pass 4, half the full-time credits, where that rule changed 2 years ago to where we needed 6. Well, you get 8 credits, and you end up failing one class, you're ineligible. And so I think that the university and the athletic department has really done a nice job of making some adjustments to make sure that some of those situations don't happen again. Because when you get in 12 credits and you have to pass 6, you have to fail 3 or 4 classes to be ineligible. Which is, obviously fair. I don't think that's too much to ask to be a student athlete, to pass 6 of 12. But when you have 8 credits and you fail 1 3-credit class, it makes you ineligible. That's difficult, and it puts a premium on these athletes, these student athletes, making sure that they're getting everything done, and they've really done a nice job.
Considering the magnitude of Saturday's game, what type of crowd do you think these seniors and the team overall deserves in that stadium?
For what they've done here, I think it deserves to be sold out. Is what I think it deserves to be. With the hard work that they put in, and you look at a year ago, these seniors were a part of that win a year ago in the bowl game, which was only our 3rd bowl win in school history, and to see the things that they've done and competing for a division championship in the conference, this is what you play for. And I think for these guys to go to only the 2nd bowl, to go to a bowl 2 years in a row for only the 2nd time in school history, speaks volumes. I think we have a great crowd base. I know it's going to be hard for everybody during the holiday. A lot of people aren't going to be here. They're going home, making plans. The students aren't going to be in town. There's a lot of things that are going to play against these players, really, getting the credit that they deserve for what they've done on the field and the way they've represented this program off the field, in the classroom, and on the field. And so, yeah, I would love for it to be full to tell these young men thank you for what you've done while you've been here, and the way you came, the way you represented yourself, and got your degree and graduated and did the things that you were supposed to do and representing this program in a class manner, which is what it deserves. And so, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen, because I do know it's going to be hard with it being a holiday and no school in session. But that doesn't take away from what these players deserve with the hard work and energy that they've put into, and the way that they've come together and given up their individuality. For Kenneth Dixon will be playing possibly his last game in that stadium. And it's hard to say that he hasn't been pretty special to the history books at this school. And so I would like for all of them to get a huge thank you. And I know the people that will be here, we've got a loyal fan base, and I know the people will be here will be incredibly supportive, and those that will, but I know it's going to be hard.
I asked Jeff this, but how much stock do you think you put in common opponents at this point in week 12?
No, I don't. Really, I don't look at it. I think there's a couple things that get involved with that. You could look at conditions. You could look at time of year they played them. You could look at injuries. All of a sudden you've got Kenneth missed 2 games, in the middle of the season, and you can't take that and go, well, that's the same team. I think really the best way to evaluate them is to go through their last 4 games. And then, that's because that's the most recent team that they've evolved into, just like it's the most recent team that we've evolved into with some of the injuries that we've had and some of the guys that have had to step up. So I'm not big into common opponents, and then there's a lot of things that work into that. Maybe you played a team without a quarterback, and, they played them with them or whatever. So I think it's more about trying to look at your matchups as you're walking into this weekend.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all.